Greetings, my friends. Today I'm having a wonderful guest, Lisa. She's really a good friend of mine. I'm pretty sure most of you know her quite well. She's MW and she's in love with Georgia, as we all Georgians. So please, Lisa, just give some idea of yourself to the people who still might not know you, but I'm pretty sure they're like, I don't know, one or two.
There are a few.
So, there are a few, quite a few.
So I'm Lisa Granik, Master of Wine. I became a Master of Wine in 2006, and I work in the wine industry in the United States. I've been coming back and forth to Georgia since 1990, and
quite a date.
Quite some time.
Yeah.
And I was here from 1990 and 1991. In any event, I have been working on a book on Georgian wine pretty seriously over the past couple of years, and I think we'll see it appear in 2020, but it's intended to be the first serious reference book on Georgian wine.
Yeah, so generally Lisa does a tremendous job for Georgia. I know a lot about what she's researching and what she does for Georgia. Just can you imagine the wine industry, the cradle of wine, where we never research anything, we don't put the question marks to anything, and Lisa is the person who really encouraged the half of Georgia and me as well to ask the questions why we do grow some certain grapes in certain areas, why should we age in this kind of wood, or why this long, or these kind of questions that are very usual in, let's say, France or somewhere else. It's very unusual in Georgia, and this is something that I see a huge value in that you do, and this is just a part of what you do. So I'm again so grateful having you today here, because you must know, guys, Lisa possesses this emotion that she really makes you diseased with. So that's not only because she's master of wine, but I would say I share her emotion towards the wine, and we share the common idea about the wine, and we feel this kind of passionate both. So I think Lisa is one of the best partners for my hashtag #Rinmoția.
Well, we like to say that one's passion or emotion for wine is infectious, but I hope it doesn't make you diseased.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But it's, you know, it has kind of levels.
Right.
So it's like
wine
fully,
can be, one's engagement in wine can go to the point of a sickness, perhaps. But thank you for having me.
Surely. That's wonderful, and I really appreciate that. So we have here a bunch of wines. There are some specific reason why we are having those here. I took them from various exhibitions. We have one from Germany, one from Italy, one from France, Spain, and 2 Georgian wines, of course. So we have here, I think you're more knowledgeable about this company, this
Schloss,
yeah,
from Germany, yes.
Yeah, so it's Riesling, GG, which means the
Grosses Gewächs means great growth.
Yeah, and it's 2015 vintage. So we'll be just enjoying the wine.
I do need a spittoon.
Yeah, spittoon.
But Grosses Gewächs means, by German law, it has to be a dry wine.
Yeah.
And it is considered to be, it is their equivalent of a Grand Cru. And this particular wine from the Mosel, and in particular from the Saar, is a very, very small part of the broader area along the Mosel. And the Saar wines are known for having really crystalline purity, crystalline acidity. They're focused and really driving.
Okay, I see. So
that's what I expect from this wine.
It's what I mean, you know, the person who speaks like about the wine, not just as a, you know, I'm not sure whether you are feeling that or not, but I do. I feel that passion and the knowledge which comes with it. It's like amazing spending time with such kind of person, and I got more and more excited, and I'm pretty sure you already noticed how emotional I am and how I emotionally get towards people who are as emotional as I do. So, yeah.
And it's hard to get more emotional. Riesling is one of the world's greatest grape varieties.
True.
And so I'm really excited to taste this wine.
Yeah, me too.
I still don't have my spittoon.
Yeah. Can we ask for the spittoon?
Though this one I still might want to drink, all the same. But there's tremendous focus in the nose.
Whoa,
Riesling is a very aromatic grape variety, and it's always like laser focused. Whistle, we say whistle clean.
Yeah. Wow.
I didn't notice what the vintage is. I mean, it's obviously very young.
15.
15, okay. And so it's still, pale with a greenish hue.
Yeah.
And a very youthful, fresh, driving nose. As this wine ages, you get more petrol-y, earthy characteristics. Oily in character.
Yeah, Riesling is very famous for its these petrol notes after aging in the bottle.
Right.
Few years. Which this wine has just a tiny bit.
A little bit of earthy character. Mostly it's sort of like a white peach pit.
Yeah.
And sometimes and what we call like black currant bud. It's a flower. Riesling often has a floral characteristic component to the nose.
You feel the dry leaves like a tea or something?
And a green tea.
Green tea, yeah.
Particularly.
I'm pretty sure some Georgians who are not so familiar with the Riesling quite won't understand us when we say that Riesling is one of the best white grapes in the whole world. Even though we have tried a bunch of white, really good wines in Georgia, but still, Lisa doesn't like when I compare Georgian style wines to the European style wines, but still for the person, as a person, you should have your preferences in understand it's absolutely different section of the wine style,
right.
But still for the whites, the Riesling is the best, and I cannot do it.
Well,
I cannot do
I'll
anything
just tell you,
with
one of the reasons one argues that Riesling is the greatest grape variety is that you can make a sparkling wine. I mean, actually, it doesn't matter what form you make the wine, it always makes a very high quality wine. So whether it's sparkling, whether it's dry, whether it's off dry, whether it's sweet, whether it has botrytis, or whether it's ice wine, I'm not sure if I'm forgetting, whether it's young, whether it's old.
Yeah.
Riesling and Riesling wines age. They have tremendous longevity. So I'm hard pressed to put another grape variety in that category.
Yeah.
But also it is, like this wine, it provides an extraordinary balance of sugar and acidity, and the wine just drives. It's always refreshing and delicious on the palate.
Yeah. Would you say regarding the bottling potential, it's all the merit of the acidity, or there are still some other compounds as well? In terms of Riesling.
I'm not sure I understand your question.
So usually the three things are responsible for the bottle aging.
Right.
Potential, like alcohol, acidity,
and sugar.
Yeah.
And there's no tannin, so there's sugar.
Yeah.
And these wines are really the drier style of wine of this quality is a more recent development in Germany. Mm-hmm. And by and large, these wines are expected they do have residual sugar because the acidity is high.
Yeah.
And I think most of the producers expect them to be drunk within about 10 years of bottle age, though they can go longer. It's not like the ones with more sugar that, depending on the vintage, and the sugar content, they can last 50 years or 100 years, depends on the wine.
Yeah. So the main point which you should get from this is that Riesling is just crazy. Even the very cheap Rieslings, comparing to any other cheaper wines, it will be still on a few steps forward.
But the high quality wines like this one, with the concentration on the palate, it's very alive, and I find Riesling has some electricity in the mouth. You really feel the vibration, you feel the minerality, We use it's not a technical term. The wine is very zippy.
Yeah.
It has its own. It really has its own energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a wine that professionals in the wine world, people love Riesling almost like nothing else.
Yeah, true.
It has its very passionate supporters.
Yeah. And this is one of the, well, I would say, rare wines that really gives me a goosebump, because you feel it in your mouth and it's like just blowing you apart because it's so emotional trying this kind of good wine.
And the thing that, with at least in the States, the funny thing is that consumers, wine professionals love these wines. Everybody's crazy about Riesling, and consumers have the mistaken impression that they're sweet.
Yeah.
and they think, oh, Riesling, it's always sweet. And this is, okay, this has some sugar, but it finishes dry and it's so alive. I mean, it's been so hard to get people excited about this wine, and these wines should be much more expensive than they really are.
Absolutely.
So you should get them and try them while they're still relatively cheap, because they have so much energy.
Buy them, store them, and just age them and drink.
Yeah.
Don't forget to drink. And these are really crazy wines. Wow.
Yeah, it's like a party in your mouth, right?
I really don't want to.
No, I feel bad spinning it. But.
Yeah, exactly. But we have still a way to go. So.
Okay.
So I think next comes the Ghigwi, the Georgian wine and grape and company, Marashvili wine cellar. It's quite special vintage, 2016, which was the best, I don't know, from past 10 years, for sure, the best vintage for this grape. I don't know if you have tried better from the past 10 vintages.
This is absolutely, if not the best, certainly one of the best Ghigwis I had. It's interesting to me because Ghigwi is a difficult grape for English speakers to get their mouths around, because the Ghigwi, I mean, I can do it, but most people can't.
You're partially already Georgian, so you are not in any event.
It's hard to talk to people about. But what's interesting about Ghigwi is that it really is one of Georgia's greatest grape varieties.
Yeah.
And even though now people talk about Kisi, of course there's Katsateli, but there's less Ghigwi. And if you go back into the old sources, when people, we're talking in the late 1800s, early 1900s, when people were talking about the greatest Georgian grape varieties, Ghigwi was up there. They weren't necessarily talking about Kisi. They talked about Ghigwi, and why Ghigwi was, particularly down in Kardanachi, not to make a fortified wine, but just that it made wines that were profound with great, complex and with length. And I find the grape has a very clear aromatic signature of honey, and it has beautiful and honeyed characteristics on the palate. But this had more. This had lots of apricot and stone fruit and.
This one is really crazy one. This is, as I mentioned, 2016, which is like out of stock quite a long ago, because it just rocked. It just rocked. Everybody, every competition, every exhibition
The Japanese loved it. They went crazy about it.
Japanese, they tried and they reserved and they said it's ours and nobody else can touch it, and we were like, okay.
But one of the things that's fantastic about this wine is, apart from the ripeness of the fruit and the complexity of the fruit character, is the quality of the tannin. Because the tannins are they're round, but they're very fine grained. They're very elegant, and they provide a freshness and a delicacy to the wine. Often people think the tannin is going to make the wine rougher and more muscular, but this actually adds to finesse and freshness to the wine.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is the best way to express the Ghigwi. I speak about the Ghigwi generally, this wine and stuff, but this was just a masterclass for the Ghigwi.
You have really ripe. Take a good Ghigwi. You have ripe, round fruit. Succulent honey, some white flower character, maybe some honeysuckle.
Yeah, but the honey is very like typical for the Kirche.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then, but there's some other yellow fruits, one might say.
Yeah.
There's a very subtle mineral character, because this is not fruit juice. It's not a fruit salad, like some less successful Georgian wines can be these days. If it's too hot, right, and they don't have enough tannins. But the tannins here really provide elegance to the wine and complement that roundness of fruit. It's a perfect marriage.
It is.
Very, very elegant wine.
It's just really crazy because I was drinking this wine like past already 2 years, like very frequently until it was in stock. But like now I'm trying this wine after, I don't know, half year or something that I haven't tried this one, and it's already somewhere over there, It develops so quickly. When I come to Baziani first and tried this vintage, it was like very good, very complex, had a enormous potential for aging, and like every 6 months it was like driving me crazy because it was something really new, and now it's amazing and new. So it really offers you every time you try something, something new.
Well, that's one of the characteristics of a really great Kvevri wine, is that it changes. I mean, not day to day in the bottle. If you have a bottle today and the next bottle should be the same wine. But 6 months out, even 3 months out, you see the wine really changing and evolving in a positive way. And the challenge of even judging a Kvevri wine, a good Kvevri wine, is that you can't just, this is a problem with the wine competitions, you have to taste it very quickly, and these are wines that are so alive.
Need
and
time.
As they need time, they need
to be
time.
appreciated.
It opens over an hour, it opens over several hours, it may need 24 hours, right?
Absolutely true.
And when I think about why, what drives the quality of this wine, well, it's the same thing that drives quality in any other wine. You are looking for, if it's a tannic wine, elegant tannic development, but any wine can be big, but really quality wines are going to have very elegant tannins, balance across the palate. Elegance is hard to achieve, and then that length of finish. And this wine delivers all of those things, even if the fruit character changes over time.
Yeah. And
it's really beautiful.
And one thing that I would also want to kind of mention again is that generally the attitude towards wine is widely hard to find the correct way to approach the wines generally, and especially with the Kvevri wine. And I think that it's also one of the problems in Georgia, that people don't know how to approach the wines, how properly they should store, taste the wines. And this is also something that Lisa very often encourages me and other Georgians to do. Like, every wine is an individual. You should try it, understand the wine, and then you put the proper way of accepting this wine.
Yeah, I mean, wines are in this way like people, and you're not going to like every wine, you're not going to like every person, and not only that, some people may not even like me, right? But on the other hand, it may depend on the day, and there might be days that maybe you met me on a bad day, and I hope that I have the opportunity to correct that. On the other hand, some wines have bad days, or maybe it's not the day for you and this wine to meet. So it's really important to think about giving a wine another chance.
Absolutely true. So this is like.
Right. On the other hand, sometimes if you don't like a wine, you don't like a wine, and accept that. Some people, the way I joke is that some people like vanilla. I believe in chocolate.
Yeah.
My father likes strawberry, and different people are going to have different preferences.
That's a perfect way to describe a wine generally, because I always say like how emotional it is and how living and stuff, and this is one of the ways how you should approach and think about the wine, because it's alive and you should think as a person with its individuality and character, which may change every day.
That's right.
You change every day, you have different attitude. After 2 days you will be on a bad mood or better mood. So the wine does the same. So you should find the proper time to stick these two. You and the wine should stick together, and you should give the wines a chance.
Yeah, give them respect.
Absolutely. Before I started making wine, like really making wine myself, I was very critic. So when I didn't like the wine, I said like it's like this and this. And when I started making wine and understood how hard it is to make even a common clean wine, then I understood that you should appreciate every drop of the wine, just every, because people put effort, work in that drops, and we don't have the chance, and we shouldn't be unpolite.
Right, and I think great wines to me are also. I like to say that the wine is the song of the vineyard.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. Yeah,
and it is the grower and the winemaker who ultimately bring that song to not our ears but our mouth.
Yeah.
And each. And of course, the winemaker is going to influence how that wine sounds or tastes. But there's respect to the place where the grapes were grown, and ultimately how the wine has come into being.
True. So I think we can move.
Sure.
Now I will quite need your help. I was thinking about trying either Sapra Vichashmi first or the Valpolicella.
I think I would go. Let's do the Valpolicella first. Right.
So it's
kind of a
Valpolicella. It's Corvina, right?
Predominantly Corvina.
Yeah.
Yes. Right.
The dominant is Corvina grape, which is Italian. So.
But it's a Ripasso Valpolicella.
Yeah, which is quite important.
Which means that the Corvina grapes
were dried.
Well, no. Ripasso means passed over.
Yeah,
so typically the Corvina grapes are crushed and the wine is made. And then what they might do is add some grapes that were already raisined or from Amarone will be added that still have some sugar, and a little, and they're riper because they were a little raisined. So it will give a little more richness to the wine. The danger, I could say, or the risk with Ripasso is that sometimes, because the dried grapes have been around for a little bit, they may not necessarily be the cleanest, because it's a bad thing to say. I love Italian wine and I love Valpolicella, so this is not, I'm not saying anything negative about it. But it is a challenge. There often is higher volatile acidity, and there's definitely a more wild, let's put it a wild character that will come in a Ripasso Valpolicella than in a, they would say Valpolicella normale, a normal, a regular one.
Yeah, I see. So this one I had, I don't know, like, it's been 2 years that I'm keeping this bottle, so we'll see how it shows.
Well, the colors moved from dark to a little bit of garnet that's fading at the rim. Yeah. The nose is integrated, but you get that super ripe, almost raisin. I mean, this is a very, very ripe red fruit, almost raisiny, spicy.
Usually, how do you describe just typical Corvina dominated
cherry,
like sour, right?
Sour. They say cornelian
would
cherry.
Be in a high acidity, somewhere I don't know, like from purple towards the ruby color, like a little bit light, and it's a light, crisp wine. This is going to be sweeter, richer, and a little wilder because it's Ripasso. Yeah. And so it is. There's more breadth on the palate. It's definitely a little wilder and aromatic on the finish. I mean, there's a lot of. I love the term flying, volatile acidity, which is very typical for a lot of Italian wines. It's not excessive. It's it brings lift to the finish. It keeps going. Yeah. Even though it's a medium-bodied wine. It's not rich and full and heavy. And I have this perception when you eat this cherry-based cake, and the kind of a cherry taste that you have on your tongue, you know, aftertaste.
There's often a cherry
like
cake,
that.
or we talk about fruit cake. A lot of them hate fruit cake. I don't like fruit cake, but it's a Christmas cake with certain spices, and sort of a nutmeg, cinnamon, sometimes character to it. It's more sweet than savory, and you feel that in this wine.
Yeah, exactly. It's nicely balanced. Like, I would say like medium minus, like light bodied, but nice grip with the tannins. Really nice acidity.
The tannins are very delicate.
Yeah.
Because you have the ripasso, so those tannins, the fruit wrapped around those tannins, and then it has sat in bottle for 2 years, so the tannins have integrated somewhat, and the acidity really drives this wine in certain ways.
Yeah, and this kind of like a little bit of spice,
right?
And this really soft coffee note on the very back.
Right. Yeah.
Really nice.
A little bit of torrefaction, and that's all part of this coffee cake, fruit cake, baking spice mix. Pretty wine. Very pretty wine.
Yeah, I would say, I was going to say, like, depending on what type of wine you like, I mean this style. If you like these light style wines with a nice acidity and really nice grip of tannins, then it's a really good wine.
Yeah, it's medium. It's not a big wine.
It's not a big wine.
Medium. It's medium bodied at best.
Yeah.
But the tannins are delicate, and the wine is a little wild.
Yeah, that gives the emotion.
It does.
It really brings up some memories of the taste, because it can say it's quite complex still, and gives you a lot of flashbacks, But you taste the cake, you had this dinner, you had this cherry from the tree, and this wildness gives you more and more emotions.
And you feel that you really feel that the wine is alive. I mean, there's nothing worse than a wine that feels flat and dead. And this wine speaks and says, come back to me. I got more to say.
Yeah, exactly. And it fills me, like, from the first sniff, I understood the wine that it would develop. Like in a glass, it will develop, it will show up something more that he's showing right now. Pretty nice wine.
And I think this wine is right where it's supposed to be. I don't think it will improve.
Yeah.
The tannins are integrated enough, and it's perfect right now.
Yeah. Very lucky, because of the terms of the bottle aging, of the wine character, that is like a diagram that is like, this year is very nice. After, I don't know, a few months, we opened the same bottle, it would be not that good, which is, would you say, it's like, there is no research real about these kind of things.
No, because there are too many variables to
and it's very complicated.
But it's one of these wines where I used to sell wine in the United States, and there was a restaurant, this well-known restaurant with a super big chef, and you would come and show him some wines, and it was like this kind of a wine. He was in an Italian restaurant, and he would say, you know what, this wine makes me think of, wait a minute, I'm dying for, and he would go back into the kitchen and cut some sausages and make a pasta, or say, you know what, I've been working on this ragu, hold on. And he would come out, and you could be there all day tasting wines, trying to sell him wine, because with every wine, he would go back and say, wait a minute, this makes me want something.
The also very emotional guy, I see. Like, the wine was driving his passion to make something for that wine.
It's hard to find a boring person in the wine business, They're all passionate about it.
There are some people, very pragmatic, but they are, as you mentioned, like the flat wine, which is the worst to be for the wines, to be flat.
Right.
So, but still, we are not talking about those.
Nope. Those are rare. Let's do the Hashvinesh,
Yeah, I don't know the producer, who this guy is and how this wine got here. I have no idea. It's something like Wizard Lab. I don't know who he is, but we'll see. We'll see what it got. So I don't know what the wine is, who made it, but let's be very critic.
Oh, I was going to say let's be fair.
Yeah, fair, but like...
So it says it's Chashmi Saparavi, so there are things that you should expect from Chashmi.
Okay.
Of course, there are different I don't know where in Kashmir
Yeah.
it's from, and the different parts of Kashmir are different, give different styles of
I see.
wine, actually. Not different styles, but there are different characteristics in terms of the quality of the tannin and the level of acidity and level of alcohol, actually. But it's, Kashmir is a bit cooler than the other side of the mountains.
Usual part where the Sapravis
Right,
are born.
and so you have a much more aromatic nose, which you have here, and a phenomenal amount of, I put my nose in this glass, and the first thing I get is black pepper.
Yeah.
A lot of black pepper. Not green, this is, so it's ripe pepper. It's
lot of
not,
spice.
It is a very, very spicy wine. And then also what you expect with properly grown Saperavi is dark cherry, blackberry fruit, and it's fresh. I mean, there are problems.
It's quite dark ruby, right?
It's very dark ruby, but with
Very
some
dark.
violet, because it's a young wine, some violet reflections. I
Yeah, on
think
the Manesk you can see that.
good
yeah.
Saperavi should be opaque like this. You shouldn't see through it.
Yeah.
And it should stain the glass somewhat. If it's too, people used to think that we would call it the legs. That
Tears,
the
legs.
tears of the legs was a sign of quality. Do you know where that came from?
No, no
Okay,
idea.
so in Europe, when before climate change and it was cold and people didn't drink water because it wasn't safe, but it's what the tears show is the difference. Wine has alcohol and water in it, but they evaporate at a different rate, and so the more alcohol, the more
more tears.
the more tears.
Yeah.
So people used to, and because people who worked in vineyards were poor, but the wines had more substance when they and more color and more tears when the alcohol was higher.
Yeah,
so
I
it
see.
was a proxy. We would say it was an indicator of quality.
Yeah, true.
But Saperavi should have tears because the juice itself is pink.
I think nowadays, if something like would happen and the water would become not acceptable for the health or whatever, people would be so happy in Georgia. I mean,
Absolutely.
they would,
Absolutely.
because there would be something like making wine cheaper because you should drink it because you don't have the water. It reminds me actually this German saying, "Save water, drink Riesling." Yeah,
Right.
It's first. I think it's like their original saying or something.
Yeah, tagline.
So,
I never heard that
tagline.
one.
Yeah, sure.
So I took a sneak peek at this wine, and it is very Kashmir.
Very Kashmir.
Well, and as it should be.
Yeah.
If it's not from, if it doesn't speak of Kashmir, then why does the wine exist?
Yeah.
It could be from anywhere. It needs to speak of its roots, and so the acidity is high, higher than it would be in the Alazani Valley. So it's bright and it's fresh. It's very crisp. The tannins are still a little grippy.
Yeah.
Hold on, I have to go back and think about it again.
Yeah.
But I thought the wine was very balanced, very fresh, and I liked the sort of the smoky, tarry element underneath the black cherry. I don't like. I have problems. I don't want to say I have problems, but Saperavi. If Saperavi is not well cared for in the vineyard or when it's being harvested or in the winery, it loses its freshness and becomes sort of cooked. You get more coffee and caramel character, where when it's young and fresh and concentrated and vibrant, those developed flavors can come later. But I like
not
them
from the very
beginning. Not
right?
from the exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
I always found this wine a little bit, I don't know, the woody. You know what I mean? Like, because it was also the stamps, the 100%, which is really uncommon. Like 100% chacha with the stamps. So it got, from the very beginning, this one got, like, it was quite green, really harsh and stuff. With some aeration, became like more woody. I don't know, like for me it was like that, and a bunch of people who tried this wine said the same. I don't know if you agree with that.
I get much more. I don't find that when we talk about wood, we usually talk about oak.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what
it's an oak reference.
why I said wood, but not the oak.
Stemmy. We would say stemmy.
Stemmy,
And then
okay.
and then the problem is when people in the West talk about STEMmy, first of all, it's always negative because stems are presumed to be green.
Yeah.
And this wine's not green. I would say it's STEMmy, but it's ripe stems. And there's definitely a like black tea, tannic grip on the front of the palate that comes from those stems. Right.
Yeah.
So it's a very structured wine. And for some, it's a food wine.
Yeah.
This is not a wine that
That's actually what I wanted to ask, because you said it's very spicy. So usually I consider this kind of wines when they have something really driving, like a lot of spice or a lot of, I don't know, like fruits, or it should go well with the...
Well, it goes well with it goes well with steak, because you know there's a famous in the steak. There's in the States there's a very famous dish actually in France. You know, it's steak au poivre. It's steak with pepper.
Yeah.
And instead of having and you can take the steak and you cover it with peppercorns and you grill it or you sear it, however you're preparing it. Well, you don't necessarily even need very much pepper on this because it's in the wine. You just grill a steak, and this is one of the things that a lot of people don't understand in the States, is that Kfevri wines work very well when you have char, like a little bit, it's like svade, right?
Yeah.
On the fire, you get that grilled flavor. It really marries very, very well with these wines. And this wine is just, to me, screaming for a really good steak that you throw, or you could have it with burgers. Again, burgers grilled outside with a little bit of char, and it's a perfect match.
I think this already sounded as an evening plan. So this it really does.
But even now, the tannins, again, it's a young red wine, and so it's with considerable tannin and really beautiful structure. At first, the wine was a little angular with the acidity. You really felt the acidity and the tannin.
So it's like
they're integrating now. They're integrating now. And I have, never mind. I have a memory. I think back in my deep memory, I think I once, I don't know if I met this wizard or somebody related to this wizard back, and I know I had another wine that had some similarities. And there's no question there's been some growth and maturity on the part of the winemaker here.
I remember that. I can understand that. Yeah. The hands, hands are everything. This is the 50% at least of the wine.
But the wine, I will tell you, the tannins are integrating nicely. If I were to have this wine today, and I think a lot of wines from Kashmir, and certainly most Kfevri wines, they should be decanted.
Yeah, true. Needs a lot of air. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. Needs to breathe.
Right.